The world does not reward endless kindness or quiet compliance. It never has. What it responds to, what it respects, is clarity, boundaries, and people who know exactly where they stand. There is a certain look others give when they sense you can be used. It isn't anger. It isn't hostility. Hate would mean they see you as a force to reckon with. This look is worse. It's indifference. Cold, dismissive, and quietly degrading. You've seen it. You've felt it. The way people talk over you as if your thoughts are optional. The way your effort is assumed rather than appreciated. The way they take and take and take while giving nothing back. That silent calculation they make when they realize you won't push back. When they realize there are no consequences. The hardest truth to face is this: it didn't happen to you. It happened with your permission. Not because you're weak, but because you were never taught the difference between kindness and self-erasure. You learned to stay quiet, to be agreeable, to be available at all times. You told yourself it was maturity. You told yourself it was wisdom. But in reality, it trained others to treat you as expendable. Silence is not strength when it comes from fear of conflict. Availability is not kindness when it comes at the cost of your dignity. Constant giving is not virtue when it leaves you empty and overlooked. What you called patience slowly became submission. And over time, that submission ate away at your sense of self-worth. The Stoics understood something most people avoid today. Respect is not something you request politely. It is not something you earn by sacrificing yourself. Respect is a byproduct of discipline, restraint, and clearly defined limits. It comes from deciding what you will tolerate and, more importantly, what you will not. Power does not come from doing more for others. It comes from mastering yourself. From choosing when to engage and when to walk away. From building an inner foundation so solid that no one can step over it without consequences. When your boundaries are firm, people adjust. When your standards are clear, behavior changes. Not because you demand it, but because you embody it. If you are tired of being overlooked, interrupted, dismissed, and drained, the answer is not to give more. The answer is to draw the line. To reclaim your time, your energy, and your attention with discipline. To live in a way that signals you are no longer available for exploitation. This is how the cycle breaks. This is how self-respect is rebuilt. And this is how you step into real power, not loudly, not aggressively, but with quiet authority. If you are ready to stop being used and start being respected, then it is time to choose discipline over approval and boundaries over validation. That is the path to true self-respect. If you are ready to step into that power and finally stop being overlooked, I need you to hit that subscribe button right now. Consider this your first real step toward breaking free from the exhausting cycle of being used and finally stepping into a life defined by true self-respect and absolute control. When you constantly give every ounce of yourself to others, and when you are always the very first person to say yes without a second thought, you begin to lose sight of your own intrinsic worth until it vanishes completely. You gradually transform into that person who is always available, always willing to help, and always dropping everything important in your own life just to accommodate someone else's emergency. On the surface, you might try to convince yourself that you're just being kind, generous, or exceptionally reliable, but the cold reality is that you are slowly fading into the background of your own life. Your constant availability doesn't make you a hero. It makes you forgettable and, more dangerously, it makes you entirely expendable in the eyes of those around you. The hard truth is that people simply do not value someone they know they can walk all over, and they certainly don't respect a person who is perpetually ready to serve but never has the backbone to ask for anything in return. Here is the uncomfortable psychological reality you need to face. Every time you say yes, when you really want to say no, you are actively teaching people that your time does not matter and that your life is worth less than theirs. You are sending a loud and clear signal that you have no limits, no personal needs, and no boundaries, essentially telling the world that you will always be waiting there whenever they decide to call. However, the exact moment you start saying no and standing your ground, a massive psychological shift occurs in every one of your relationships. People begin to see you through a completely different lens. They realize for the first time that you actually have firm boundaries, that you respect your own time and energy as a finite resource, and that you are not a puppet who will simply bend to their every demand whenever it suits them. It is only when you start setting those non-negotiable boundaries, when you finally start choosing your own well-being over the convenience of others, that you actually begin to earn the deep, lasting respect you've been craving for so long. This is not about being a selfish person or turning your back on the world. It is about the fundamental necessity of self-respect, because if you don't value your own life, you can't expect anyone else to do it for you. You need to take a long, hard look in the mirror and ask yourself a question that most people are too afraid to answer. When was the absolute last time you did something because you truly, deeply wanted to do it, and not simply because you felt a crushing sense of obligation or guilt? When was the last time you had the sheer courage to look someone in the eye and say no to a request that clearly didn't serve your needs, align with your values, or respect your time? It is incredibly easy to fall into the psychological trap of thinking that saying yes to every single person makes us good, helpful, or supportive individuals, but the cold, hard truth is that we are actually just training the world to take us for granted and teaching people that our precious time is theirs for the taking whenever they please. What if, instead of offering a frantic, long-winded explanation every time someone asks for a piece of your life, you simply said no and left it at that? What if you finally stopped feeling this desperate, underlying need to justify every decision you make, to over-explain exactly why you cannot help, or to offer a hollow apology for the radical act of putting your own well-being first? There is an immense, untapped power in that two-letter word. No is not just a refusal. It is a definitive declaration of your own worth and a signal to the universe that you have officially stopped letting others dictate your time, your energy, and the very trajectory of your life. The more you practice this discipline, the more you will begin to reclaim the power and the internal peace that you've been leaking for years. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously taught that it is not what happens to you, but how you choose to react to it that truly matters, and this is the absolute essence of setting ironclad boundaries. Setting a boundary is never about what others are asking of you. It is entirely about how you consciously choose to respond to those demands. When you finally learn to say no with conviction, you aren't just protecting a few hours on a calendar. You are actively shielding your creative energy, your mental health, and your fundamental sense of self from being diluted by the whims of others. You are no longer a leaf blowing in the wind of other people's demands. Instead, you are acting with deliberate intention and making surgical choices that align perfectly with your own core values. You must stop apologizing for having a limit, and you must stop explaining yourself as if you are on trial. Your no is not a personal rejection of others. It is a sacred protection of your own well-being, and the only way to maintain your peace and your integrity in a world that is designed to constantly demand more than you have to give. The reality you have to accept is that people will instinctively respect you more the moment they witness you valuing your own time as an irreplaceable asset. They will finally begin to grasp the fundamental truth that your presence is not a free commodity to be taken for granted, but a high-value privilege that must be earned through mutual effort. When you demonstrate the discipline to respect your own boundaries, you are effectively providing a blueprint that teaches others exactly how to treat you, signaling that your limits are ironclad and non-negotiable. The hidden key to gaining authentic, lasting respect is never found in how much of yourself you are willing to give away until you're empty, but rather in how much of your core self you are willing to protect with fierce intentionality. As you begin to consistently prioritize your own essential needs over the relentless, often shallow demands of others, you will witness a profound shift in the social dynamics of your life. No longer will people feel entitled to take advantage of your time, your hard-earned resources, or your emotional energy. Instead, they will be forced to value you for the sheer internal strength and character it takes to stand your ground and say no. This shift is not about becoming cold, rejecting people out of spite, or cutting everyone off in a fit of anger. It is about the surgical process of creating sacred space for the relationships that truly matter, the ones built on a foundation of mutual respect, deep understanding, and shared value. When you have the courage to set firm boundaries, you are finally allowing yourself to engage in relationships that are genuinely nourishing and reciprocal rather than one-sided and draining. You officially stop being a passive, invisible participant in the background of your own life and instead emerge as the active, dominant creator of your own story, which is exactly where real, unshakable respect originates. Your no is not just a word. It is a concentrated form of power that you must never be afraid to wield, because every single time you use it, you are brick by brick building a life that is authentically true to your soul, reflecting your deepest values and highest priorities. You must stop apologizing for the perceived crime of putting your well-being first and start owning your decisions with total confidence. You will discover that as you stop bending over backward to satisfy the whims of those who wouldn't do the same for you, you will naturally begin to attract the high-level respect, the profound internal peace, and the meaningful relationships that you have actually been searching for all along. There is an undeniable and incredibly potent psychological force found in the concept of being scarce, a principle that is frequently overlooked in our hyper-connected world, yet it governs almost every interaction in nature and human behavior. The true value of any entity is rarely tied solely to its inherent qualities. Rather, it is inextricably linked to its rarity and the difficulty required to obtain it. Consider a rare gemstone. While its physical beauty is certainly part of the equation, its staggering market value is driven almost entirely by its scarcity. If diamonds were as common as the gravel on a driveway and you could reach out and grab them all day long, their prestige would vanish instantly because humans are biologically wired to overlook the abundant and crave the elusive. This exact same principle of supply and demand applies directly to your time, your emotional energy, and your focused attention. If you are perpetually available, answering every text the second the notification pings, saying yes to every trivial request, and dropping your own life's work to assist others, you are inadvertently sabotaging your own worth. It isn't because the things you are doing aren't good or kind. It is because you have effectively flooded the market with your presence, making yourself so accessible and predictable that you have become a background feature in other people's lives rather than a priority. Just as the world fails to respect or treasure anything that exists in endless abundance, people will naturally begin to take you for granted the moment they realize your time is cheap and easily accessed. Now, I want you to truly imagine the psychological shift that occurs the moment you choose to disappear for a while and reclaim your mystery. What if you stopped being the person who replies within seconds and instead became someone whose response is worth waiting for? What if you took several days away from social media or went offline entirely to focus on your own growth without announcing it to the world? The very second you introduce this level of scarcity, the power dynamic shifts in your favor. People will immediately notice the void where your constant presence used to be, and they will start to wonder, where did they go? What are they working on? Why am I no longer the center of their attention? This simple, deliberate absence creates a profound ripple of curiosity and perceived value. That curiosity is exactly where your hidden power lies, because it forces others to realize that your presence is a finite, high-value resource that can no longer be expected. It must be respected. When you make the conscious decision to stop being a constant, predictable fixture in everyone's life, you force a psychological shift that compels people to value your presence in a completely different way. They will naturally begin to ask themselves those critical, internal questions. Why aren't they around as much? What are they working on that's so important? How can I actually earn their attention or their limited time? In that moment, the entire social game changes in your favor. When you finally do return or re-engage, your time will feel exponentially more valuable to them because they have been forced to confront the reality that you are not someone they can simply take for granted or summon whenever they please. You are teaching them, through your absence, that they cannot have access to you at their whim. They have to earn the privilege of your company. To become the person you are truly meant to be, you must first recognize your own inherent worth and realize that your presence, your emotional energy, and your finite time are all precious, high-value commodities that should never be given away for free. By strategically making yourself scarce, you are effectively forcing the world to acknowledge that you are no longer a background character in your own life story, but the undisputed main player who sets the tempo for every interaction. You are setting a high standard for how others are permitted to treat you, signaling that your life has a direction and a purpose that doesn't revolve around their needs. This doesn't mean you should become a hermit, completely shut yourself off from the world, or become cold and unapproachable. Rather, it is about developing the wisdom to know exactly when to step back into the shadows and when to step forward into the light. It is about the disciplined practice of choosing the specific high-value moments when you offer your energy, rather than leaking it away through constant, mindless availability. When you begin to create this intentional balance, you are actually clearing out the noise and making sacred space for the high-level relationships, the life-changing opportunities, and the deep experiences that truly deserve your limited attention. As people start to notice that you are no longer at their beck and call, their respect for you will inevitably deepen. They will finally begin to understand that your time is not a cheap resource to be squandered, but a gift that carries weight and meaning. Think about the people in your life whom you respect the most. They aren't the ones who are always waiting around for others. They are the ones who are busy building a world of their own. Ask yourself this critical question. Do the people you look up to the most always make themselves available at a moment's notice? Are they constantly at everyone's beck and call? Or are they individuals who have clearly defined their own lives, established their own rigid boundaries, and demonstrated a profound respect for their own time? Most likely, the people you instinctively respect have carefully cultivated a sense of scarcity in their lives. They have made it crystal clear, whether through intentional strategy or natural self-worth, that their time is a premium asset, and because of that high valuation, they unconsciously demand respect from everyone around them. This isn't about playing immature social games or attempting to manipulate people into chasing you like a prize. It is about the fundamental act of honoring your own internal value and teaching the world, through your actions, how to treat you. It is about being ruthlessly selective with your time and emotional energy, ensuring that when you finally do choose to give it, that contribution truly matters and carries significant weight. The moment you begin to set those boundaries, people will inevitably take notice and shift their behavior. They will stop assuming they can have unfettered access to all of you whenever they feel like it. There is an undeniable, quiet strength found in absence. It is a powerful tool for reclaiming your stolen time and your leaked energy. It is a nonverbal way of declaring to the world, I will not be easily accessed. I will not be a constant, always ready backup option. And I will be the one who chooses exactly when and where I show up. When you start living this way, you transition from a life of constant reaction to a life of deliberate intention. You officially stop being a passive, exhausted participant in your own existence and instead become the sovereign architect who sets the terms of engagement. So, the next time you feel completely overwhelmed by the relentless demands of others, I want you to take a deliberate step back, create some much-needed space, and let your absence speak for itself. When you finally choose to return, you will find that your presence is more deeply appreciated and respected than ever before, simply because people have finally realized that they can no longer have it all the time. And that, my friend, is exactly where your true, untapped power lies, hidden in the very moments most people are desperate to escape. Ask yourself honestly, how often do you find yourself frantically rushing to fill a silence the second it occurs? For most, it is an almost subconscious, automatic reflex. The moment there's a brief pause in a conversation, we feel an internal pressure to jump in, desperately filling that empty space with meaningless words, scattered thoughts, and unnecessary explanations just to ease the tension. It is undeniably uncomfortable to just sit there in the stillness, isn't it? Silence often feels like a jagged, awkward gap that we feel obligated to bridge, something we simply cannot allow to linger for more than a few seconds without feeling a sense of social failure. But here is the profound truth that the most powerful people on earth already know. Silence is not a void to be feared. Silence is the laboratory where true power is synthesized. Think about the strategic weight of this for a second. The next time someone rudely interrupts you, cuts you off mid-sentence, or tries to aggressively steer the conversation away from your point, I want you to resist the urge to fight for the floor with more noise. Instead, stop talking immediately and let the silence hang heavily in the air. Do not keep speaking over them, and more importantly, do not apologize for taking up space in that moment of stillness. Keep your physical presence solid and your gaze steady. They will feel the weight of that silence instantly. It is incredibly unsettling to be met with a calm, unwavering pause that makes everyone in the room second-guess their own behavior. It forces the other person to pay attention to the vacuum you've created, and it forces them to finally recognize your presence as something that cannot be easily pushed aside. The great psychologist Carl Jung once famously noted that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. And in this specific context, the irritation and anxiety that arise from a prolonged silence provide a rare opportunity to understand your own internal strength. The discomfort you feel vibrating in those quiet moments isn't a sign of weakness or social awkwardness. It is a clear signal that you are on the very verge of tapping into something much more profound and authoritative. By refusing to rush into that void, you are asserting total psychological control over the environment. You are sending a loud, non-verbal message that your presence, your voice, and your personal space are sacred and are not to be diminished or rushed by the impatience of others. You are no longer performing for them, you are making them wait for you. Silence is never truly empty. It is heavy, it holds immense psychological weight, and it serves as the ultimate mirror for everyone else in the room. Imagine yourself standing in a crowded space where you are the calmest, most grounded presence in existence. Everyone else is frantically speaking, laughing, and oversharing, desperately trying to fill every square inch of the room with their nervous energy and a constant stream of words. But you remain perfectly still, like the eye of a storm. You do not feel the common, insecure urge to jump in or force your thoughts out just to prove that you're there to be heard. Instead, you let the silence settle around you like a cloak and you sit in it with total confidence. What happens next is a profound shift in the social fabric of that room. People begin to look at you differently, almost with a sense of awe or caution. They feel the density of your composure, and it is as if you have become the gravity well and the center of the room without uttering a single syllable. This, my friend, is the raw, unadulterated power of silence. When you finally stop rushing to explain your every move, to fill every awkward gap, or to justify why you deserve to be in the room, you instantly regain total control of the narrative. People will start to think twice, and then 3 times, before they ever dare to speak over you or ignore your presence again. That subtle, tectonic shift in the atmosphere is exactly where authentic respect begins to grow. Silence allows you to reclaim the room by default. You stop being a passive, background participant in the conversation and start being the one who silently commands the attention of every person there. Your silence becomes a loud, undeniable statement of self-assurance. Think deeply about the individuals you truly admire and respect on a soul level. Do they constantly leak energy by filling the space with the sound of their own voices, or do they speak sparingly, choosing their words with the precision of a surgeon and letting their sheer presence do the heavy lifting? I would wager that the people you admire most never feel the need to scramble to validate their thoughts or apologize for the decisions they've made. They understand the massive weight of their own silence, and they wield it with a clear, surgical purpose. In doing so, they allow others to feel the full, crushing power of their presence, ensuring that they never just talk for the sake of talking, but only speak when their words are more valuable than the silence they are breaking. When you finally abandon the desperate need to win approval through a constant stream of words and instead embrace silence as a strategic, sophisticated tool, you will begin to witness something truly incredible happening in your social environment. People will instinctively start to listen with a heightened level of care and focus the moment you choose to speak, simply because they have realized that you do not waste your finite energy on trivialities or mindless chatter. You only break your silence when what you have to say is truly important. This is the sophisticated blueprint for commanding respect, not by increasing your volume or fighting to be heard, but by cultivating an undeniable, heavy presence that speaks for itself. It might surprise you to learn that the more you embrace the stillness, the more you actually begin to discover and refine your true, authentic voice. You see, it is never the loudest or most frantic voice in the room that commands the most attention. It is the voice that speaks with surgical intention and chooses its moments with extreme care. The more you allow the silence to sit and breathe, the more others will begin to understand the psychological reality that you are not easily swayed, not easily distracted, and certainly not easily manipulated by the superficial noise of the world around you. You present yourself as a person who is solid, centered, and completely unshakable, which is in itself one of the highest forms of human strength. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once wisely stated that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants, and this profound logic applies directly to your communication. True power does not reside in an endless, shallow stream of conversation, but in the disciplined ability to say less while communicating significantly more with the few words you choose to deploy. When you consciously choose silence over impulsive speech, you effectively elevate yourself above the chaotic noise of the masses. You cease being just another part of the constant background chatter and transform into the one person who stands firmly, calmly, and with an undeniable sense of purpose. So, the next time someone attempts to rudely interrupt you or speak over your thoughts, I want you to take a long, deliberate moment. Do not rush to fill that gap or defend your position with more noise. Let the silence sit until it becomes heavy, And as you do, pay close attention to the undeniable shift in the room's power dynamic. It is the moment they realize they are no longer in control and you are. Watch with absolute clarity as the social dynamics around you begin to shift in real time. You will find that you are no longer the one exhausted from fighting for a shred of attention, but rather the one who commands the entire room simply by the weight of your presence. The respect you have been desperately seeking for years will finally begin to materialize the moment you stop chasing it with a barrage of words, allowing the strategic use of silence to do the heavy lifting for you. By mastering the art of the pause, you aren't just controlling the external environment. You are demonstrating a profound level of self-mastery and internal control. You are non-verbally asserting your right to your own space, your own time, and your own inherent value without ever needing to utter a single syllable of justification. This is the true, hidden power of silence. It is a psychological weapon that, when wielded with grace and surgical precision, ensures the respect you've been longing for flows to you naturally and effortlessly. You will realize that you don't need to beg, you don't need to perform, and you certainly don't need to justify your existence to anyone. You simply need to be present, be perfectly still, and let the silence speak your worth for you. Furthermore, we must address a trap that almost every one of us falls into at some point: the destructive cycle of chronic people-pleasing. It always starts with innocent intentions. You genuinely want to be helpful, you want to be liked, and you take pride in being the dependable person that everyone knows they can rely on in a crisis. You operate under the false assumption that by saying yes every single time someone makes a demand of you, you are building up a bank of goodwill and strengthening your social bonds. However, the harsh, unfiltered truth is that you aren't building anything of substance. You are simply draining your own soul. You are effectively giving away precious pieces of your identity and your life force until there is absolutely nothing left for yourself. People will never truly see the value in someone who acts as a perpetual servant, always available to cater to their whims. Instead, they instinctively begin to view you as a utility rather than a person, taking you for granted until your presence becomes invisible. And the most tragic part of being taken for granted is that you eventually start to lose respect not only from the people around you but from the person in the mirror. What if, instead of being the person who always says yes, you had the iron will to say no? What if, just for once, you treated your own energy as a sacred resource to be protected rather than a commodity to be given away for free? This single, simple shift in your behavior is perhaps the most powerful and transformative move you will ever make in your journey toward total self-reclamation. You must confront yourself with a question that demands absolute radical honesty. When was the actual last time you did something because you genuinely, deeply wanted to do it, rather than simply because you felt a crushing sense of social obligation or a paralyzing fear of disappointing someone else? When was the last time you had the internal fortitude to prioritize your own fundamental well-being over the arbitrary expectations of those around you? These are the foundational questions you need to begin asking yourself every single day. And the next time someone approaches you with a request or a favor, I want you to pause and ask yourself again, is this something I truly want to engage in? Or am I just uttering another yes because I am terrified of the friction that comes with a no? You will almost certainly feel a wave of guilt at first. That is the conditioned response of a people-pleaser, but you must recognize that this specific guilt is actually a powerful signal that you are finally doing something right for your own soul. Saying no is not a selfish act of coldness. It is an essential act of self-preservation and a non-negotiable requirement for maintaining your internal peace and personal integrity. It is the only way to protect your mental and emotional territory from the relentless, encroaching demands of a world that will take as much as you are willing to give. The fascinating thing you will notice as you begin to exert this newfound power is that people will actually begin to respect you more, not less. This happens because they finally see evidence that you value your own time and energy as a finite, precious resource, and they quickly realize that you are no longer a doormat to be walked on at their convenience. By setting these boundaries, you force others to treat you with a higher level of consideration, and more importantly, you begin to treat yourself with the dignity you've been lacking. The Stoic philosopher Seneca famously remarked, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Every time you say yes to a request that doesn't serve your purpose, you are actively wasting the one thing you can never replenish. You are squandering your life force on trivialities that do not align with your true mission or your peace of mind. Understand this. Each hollow yes you give away is a permanent piece of your life that is gone forever. But the moment you start saying no, you aren't just refusing a request. You are reclaiming your time, reclaiming your focus, and reclaiming the very essence of your life. You must finally begin the process of valuing yourself as a person who fundamentally deserves respect. Someone who is worthy of being shielded from the relentless, suffocating demands of the world. It is vital to understand that this internal shift is not about becoming rude, callous, or neglecting the people in your life. Rather, it is about the installation of healthy, non-negotiable boundaries. Boundaries are not optional. They are essential for your survival. Without them, you will inevitably find yourself in a state of perpetual sacrifice, giving until you are hollow, and in the end, you will have absolutely nothing left to offer. When you reach that point of total exhaustion, you are no longer of any use to anyone else, and more tragically, you are of no use to yourself. This is a harsh, unfiltered truth, but it is one you must accept with absolute clarity if you ever hope to break free from the addictive cycle of chronic people-pleasing. If you look at the individuals who are most respected in society, the ones who seem to have their lives harmoniously put together, you will notice they are the ones who have mastered the art of saying no. They understand with every fiber of their being that their time is their most precious, non-renewable resource, and they protect it with a fierce, unwavering intensity. And that, my friend, is precisely the turning point where the authentic, deep-seated respect you have been seeking finally starts to flow into your life like a tide. You must understand that this shift is not about becoming a selfish or cold individual. Rather, it is about achieving a necessary, long-overdue psychological balance. By fiercely protecting your personal energy, you are ensuring that when you do decide to give of yourself, that contribution is truly meaningful, high-impact, and impactful because it is coming from a place of genuine abundance rather than a state of hollow depletion. You will soon find that you are significantly more present and effective in the moments that actually matter, possessing the internal strength to support others when it truly counts instead of being a shell of yourself. However, to reach this state, you must immediately stop treating your finite time and limited energy as if they are infinite, inexhaustible resources. You have to break the addiction to overcommitting and learn to say no, without the crushing weight of feeling like a bad person. Because the undeniable reality is that you simply cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are constantly giving without ever taking the time to replenish your own soul, you are on a collision course with total burnout, and when that inevitable crash happens, absolutely no one benefits. Not you, not the people who depend on you, and certainly not your future. So, here is the challenge I am setting for you today. Start saying no with absolute conviction, and start putting your own well-being at the top of your priority list. It will not be easy at first. You will likely feel a pang of social guilt, and you might even find yourself second-guessing your decisions in the heat of the moment. But you must trust me when I say that this is the single most important step you can take toward reclaiming the sovereignty of your life. This is the first essential step in protecting your internal peace, your creative energy, and your market value as a human being. You will be absolutely amazed at the sheer volume of respect you gain. Not just from the world around you, but the profound respect you will finally feel for yourself when you look in the mirror. When you stop obsessing over pleasing others, you finally start protecting your own destiny. And when you start protecting yourself, you finally start living with a clear, unstoppable purpose. So I ask you one more time, when was the last time you had the courage to say no to something that didn't serve your higher path? When was the last time you put your own needs first without offering an apology? Start exactly there. Start right now. Protect your time, protect your energy, and watch the world adjust to your new standard. In doing so, you will finally begin to architect a life that serves as a living, breathing reflection of your true worth, transforming into a person who commands deep-seated respect not through the use of force or aggression, but through the quiet, unyielding strength of your boundaries. You must examine how often you find yourself instinctively rushing to justify your personal decisions, offering up a flurry of excuses or elaborate explanations for why you have chosen a certain path or established a particular boundary in your life. This is a trap that so many of us fall into, especially when we are plagued by anxiety regarding how others perceive our character or our choices. We feel this overwhelming, almost frantic need to explain ourselves as if we are on trial, attempting to soften the impact of our decisions and ensure that everyone else feels comfortable with the choices we have made for our own well-being. But here is the critical psychological truth you must internalize. Every single time you justify yourself to someone else, you are actively leaking your power and opening the wide door for others to question your supreme authority over your own existence. You are subtly, perhaps even unconsciously, telling them that their external approval carries more weight and matters more than your own internal conviction. A person who has truly mastered the art of discipline and self-possession understands that they never need to justify their personal decisions to the masses. They don't feel the need to explain the why behind their boundaries or offer a defense for why they have chosen a particular course of action over another. When a person of high value says no, they do not follow it with a long-winded, defensive excuse or a laundry list of reasons designed to placate the other person. They simply say it, let it breathe, and stand by it with total composure. Their word is entirely sufficient, and their actions speak with a volume and clarity that no verbal explanation could ever hope to achieve. This is where your true, unshakable strength lies. It is not found in the exhausting process of convincing others that your choices are valid, but in having the profound inner conviction to stand firm in your decisions, regardless of how others might react or what they might think. Take a moment to think about the individuals in your life whom you admire most at a soul level. Do they spend their precious time justifying their existence, apologizing for their choices, or explaining the mechanics of why they do what they do? In all likelihood, the people you respect the most are the ones who have moved beyond the need to seek validation for their actions, recognizing that their life belongs to them and them alone. They have meticulously constructed a fortress of self-respect that remains entirely independent of the fickle opinions of others, cultivating a life where every decision originates from a bedrock of inner strength rather than a desperate search for external approval. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius once delivered the ultimate command for a life of integrity when he said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." These words serve as a piercing reminder that your worth is not a debate and you are under no obligation to explain your value to a jury of your peers. The very second you begin to justify your decisions, you inadvertently start to erode your own authority, inviting seeds of doubt to take root in your mind. The absolute truth is that you do not require a single person's permission to inhabit the life you have chosen. You are the sole author, the lead architect, and the final authority in your own story. You must stop apologizing for the crime of setting boundaries, for the offense of saying no, or for the betrayal of choosing a path that actually aligns with your core values. Every time you succumb to the nervous urge to justify yourself, you are handing the reins of your life over to someone else, even if only for a fleeting moment. You are essentially granting them a seat at the table of your soul, allowing them to question your motives, challenge your deeply held beliefs, and systematically undermine your personal power. And here is the psychological kicker that most people miss. More often than not, those demanding an explanation aren't doing so out of genuine curiosity or a heartfelt concern for your well-being. Instead, they are frequently using it as a tactical maneuver to manipulate the situation in their favor, attempting to make you second-guess your intuition so they can maintain control. By providing a justification, you are feeding directly into that toxic dynamic. You are non-verbally confirming that their opinion holds more weight than your own conviction. The exact moment you stop justifying is the moment you regain total sovereignty over your world. You reclaim your power by realizing that no is a complete sentence and your reasons are a private matter that belongs to you alone. You must reach a point of personal maturity where you allow your decisions to stand entirely on their own merit, existing as final statements that require no further explanation, defense, or apology. When you utter the word no, let it be a clean break born from the clear-eyed realization of what is best for your own life, rather than a muddy compromise fueled by a lingering sense of guilt. You must let your actions serve as their own testimony. Stand with an unyielding spine in your choices and allow the world around you to do the work of adjusting to your new boundaries, rather than you adjusting your boundaries to suit the world. It is a fundamental truth you must master. You do not owe a single soul a detailed roadmap or a rationalization for the sacred act of protecting your internal peace, your creative energy, or your finite time. As you begin to consistently stand firm in these decisions, you will witness a tectonic shift in the social landscape as people begin to respond to you with a newfound gravity. They will start to recognize you as someone of substance, an individual who can be counted on to make a definitive choice and possess the character to stick by it regardless of the prevailing winds. The people who truly value your presence and your contribution will actually find a deep sense of relief and appreciation in your clarity and conviction, as it provides a stable foundation for a real relationship. Conversely, the individuals who were only interested in manipulating your kindness will naturally begin to fade away into the background, realizing with frustration that they can no longer push you around or guilt-trip you into compliance. This path to self-mastery does not mean you should become an inflexible tyrant or close yourself off to constructive feedback. It simply means you must stop the toxic habit of seeking external validation for your personal choices. You must stop waiting for a committee of others to agree with you before you feel empowered to move forward with your own life's work. There will always be a chorus of voices ready to disagree, to question your motives, and to attempt to sway your mind back toward their convenience. But their noise does not constitute a command. The only opinion that holds ultimate jurisdiction in the court of your life is your own. Once you truly internalize this, you will stop the hemorrhage of giving your power away to others and finally start living in absolute alignment with your true self. In fact, you will find that the more you practice standing firm in your decisions, the more the friction of making them begins to disappear. You will stop the agonizing cycle of second-guessing yourself and wondering if you made the right choice based on someone else's rubric. Instead, you will develop a profound, unshakable trust in your own intuition, knowing with total certainty that you are more than capable of making the executive decisions that serve your higher good and protect your future. In doing so, you will finally stop letting the pervasive fear of external judgment dictate the rhythm of your actions, and instead, you will begin to live with a profound, unshakable sense of inner certainty. This certainty comes from the deep-seated knowledge that you are no longer a passenger in your own life, but the one firmly in control of the steering wheel. As you begin to practice this new way of being, it is perfectly normal for it to feel intensely uncomfortable at first. You might struggle with the nagging sensation that you are being unnecessarily harsh or that people will suddenly think less of you. However, you must recognize that this discomfort is simply the voice of your old fear speaking. The fear of finally standing up for yourself and asserting your true worth in a world that has grown used to your compliance. Over time, that initial awkwardness will fade and be replaced by a massive surge of confidence in your ability to make executive decisions and stand by them, regardless of the social pressure or the internal static. As this confidence takes root, you will feel a deep, settling sense of peace permeate your entire being. You will officially stop living your life as a performance for the benefit of others and finally start living it as a testament to your own values. This transformative process is not about becoming a stubborn or closed-off individual. It is about reaching a high level of self-actualization where you recognize your own intrinsic value and refuse to allow any person, situation, or obligation to diminish it. It is about developing enough self-trust to make decisions based on what you know is authentically right for your path, rather than what is convenient for someone else's agenda. The more you practice standing firm, the more natural and fluid this posture will feel, until you are living with a permanent sense of purpose and power, knowing that you are the sole architect of your own destiny. When you reach this stage and stand firm in your decisions, the respect you have been craving for years will start to gravitate toward you naturally. It won't come because you aggressively demanded it or begged for it, but because you have earned it through the silent strength of your character. You have shown the world, through consistent action, that you are someone who cannot be swayed, manipulated, or guilt-tripped. You have finally become someone who knows their worth, and the world has no choice but to acknowledge it. And that, ultimately, is the highest and most authentic form of respect you can ever achieve. When you finally begin to live with this level of unwavering discipline, something truly incredible happens. You start to architect a life that is fundamentally impossible for the world to ignore. You are no longer merely a leaf in the wind, reacting impulsively to every external stimulus or demand that comes your way. Instead, you are making deeply intentional, surgical choices about exactly what matters most to your mission. By doing this, you broadcast a powerful, nonverbal message to the universe that you are the undisputed priority in your own life. This radical shift doesn't imply that you must shut people out or retreat into a life of cold isolation. Rather, it means you have finally ceased the toxic habit of prioritizing the convenience of others over your own fundamental well-being. It is about achieving a high-level balance and reclaiming your self-respect from the hands of those who didn't earn it. Too many of us fall into the exhausting trap of bending over backward for individuals who don't even possess the capacity to appreciate us, often doing so because of a deep-seated desire to be liked, a paralyzing fear of rejection, or the misguided belief that our value increases in direct proportion to how much we sacrifice. In that frantic process of giving, however, we inevitably lose sight of our own intrinsic worth. When you are constantly pouring out your energy and putting everyone else's needs on a pedestal, you are effectively teaching the world that your time, your energy, and your internal peace are secondary to theirs. You transform into a professional fixer who is always available to solve other people's crises, while your own house remains in disarray and your own dreams are neglected. You must ask yourself, what kind of message does that truly send to the people around you? The reality is that when you live a life that isn't centered around your own core values, you are doing a massive disservice to yourself and, ironically, to those around you because you aren't showing up as your best self. People will naturally begin to take you for granted, and in many cases, they will start to operate under the arrogant assumption that your time is theirs for the taking whenever they see fit. They begin to expect you to show up entirely on their terms, with zero consideration for the physical or emotional cost it extracts from you. This is exactly where the steel of discipline must come in. Discipline is the guardian of your soul, and it means you have finally set the boundaries that define where their needs end and where your life begins. By finally making choices that honor your own deepest needs, you have stopped allowing the external world to dictate the terms of your worth, shifting instead to an internal standard of value. It is vital to understand that discipline is not about self-punishment or restriction. Rather, it is about the deliberate creation of structure and building a life that serves as a mirror for the values you hold most dear. When you start the radical act of putting yourself first, you are not being selfish in the traditional sense. You are being profoundly wise, signaling to everyone around you that you have a standard, a baseline of respect, that others must meet if they wish to remain in your orbit. This bar doesn't have to be set so high that it becomes exclusionary or arrogant. It simply needs to be crystal clear. It is the fundamental practice of knowing exactly what you will accept and what you will absolutely refuse, and then living in a way that consistently reflects that resolve. If you continue to give away your time, your emotional energy, and your physical presence without a sense of reciprocity or self-protection, you will inevitably find yourself drained, exhausted, and eventually overlooked by the very people you sought to help. However, the moment you begin to cultivate a life that you actually believe is worth protecting, when you prioritize what matters most and set firm boundaries around your peace, the respect you have been seeking will begin to flow toward you as a natural consequence. The great psychologist Carl Jung famously remarked that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, and the essential process of that becoming involves stripping away the expectations of others to reveal a life that reflects your own deepest truth. It means taking absolute, radical responsibility for your own happiness, your mental well-being, and your personal growth, rather than waiting for someone else to grant you permission to thrive. It means building a world where you are the central priority, not in a narcissistic or hollow way, but in a way that authentically honors your own soul's worth. When you start showing up for yourself with this level of consistency and dignity, the world has no choice but to reflect that reality back to you. People will begin to treat you with a different level of gravity. They will start to see that your time is an expensive asset, that your energy is a precious gift, and that your internal peace is an absolutely non-negotiable territory that cannot be invaded. Once the world witnesses the undeniable consistency of your self-respect, they will have no choice but to offer you the respect you deserve. You must understand that this transformation isn't just about a singular moment of being assertive or standing up for yourself in a one-off confrontation. It is about the disciplined act of architecting an entire existence that is congruent with your deepest values every single day of the year. This involves building daily routines that systematically empower your mind, cultivating relationships that genuinely nourish your spirit, and setting ambitious goals that relentlessly push you to grow into the person you were always meant to become. These small, seemingly quiet, consistent decisions eventually accumulate into massive, life-altering changes. Over time, you will look around and realize you have built a life that is rich with purpose and saturated with meaning. A life that commands respect from others because it is so clearly and unapologetically centered around your own moral compass. As you successfully create a life that you personally respect, a profound psychological shift occurs. You completely stop the hollow, exhausting search for validation from the outside world. The chronic worry about whether people like your personality or approve of your unconventional choices simply evaporates, replaced by the realization that the only validation you truly require is the one you give yourself in the mirror. You officially become the supreme authority in your own life, and that authority is not derived from ego, but from the quiet strength of living in perfect alignment with what truly matters to you. When you move through the world with this level of clarity, others instinctively realize that your time is a finite resource not to be wasted on trivialities. They understand that your energy is a high-value asset not to be taken for granted, and your presence is a privilege they cannot simply demand on their own terms. And as you continue on this empowering journey, you will notice something truly powerful. The people who truly respect and belong in your life will begin to rise to meet your new standards. They will start showing up for you in ways that you never previously thought possible, understanding that if they want the honor of being in your orbit, they must contribute to your life in a way that is as meaningful as the boundaries you have set to protect it. They will finally stop taking you for granted because they will be forced to recognize you as a person of substance who places a high premium on their own time, their own limited energy, and their own internal peace. These are precisely the individuals who truly deserve to be in your inner circle, the ones who respect you for the authentic person you actually are, rather than the people-pleasing version of yourself you've been conditioned by society to become. However, you must realize that creating a life worth protecting is not a one-time event. It requires relentless, consistent effort and the daily maintenance of your internal walls. It is about the intentional construction of habits that serve your long-term goals, the radical selection of relationships that actually lift you up, and the unwavering commitment to making decisions that align perfectly with your higher purpose. It is certainly not always the easy path, and it will often be the unpopular one. But it is the only viable way to live authentically and stop the cycle of feeling perpetually drained, overwhelmed, and invisible to the world. By creating a life that you personally respect, you are laying the indestructible foundation for the kind of life that others will be compelled to respect as well. You must periodically step back and ask yourself with brutal honesty, what kind of life am I actually building right now? Am I living according to my own core values, or am I constantly bending my spine to suit the fluctuating will of others? Am I putting myself first as the primary stakeholder of my life, or am I allowing others to consistently take far more than they are willing to give? The life you inhabit is yours alone to shape, but the quality of that life depends entirely on your willingness to be its architect. When you start living with true discipline, and when you start prioritizing your own health and mission, you'll find that the people around you will start to treat you with a level of respect you once thought was impossible. That respect will not be a gift they give you. It will be the natural, inevitable byproduct of a life that is so clearly worth protecting. Yet, you must prepare yourself for the reality that the path to becoming truly disciplined is not a comfortable or easy one. If you are searching for the warm embrace of comfort, you will not find it on this specific journey. The road to genuine personal growth is inherently filled with sharp edges and profound discomfort, because it requires you to shed the skin of your old, compliant self. It requires you to face the social friction of saying no, the loneliness of setting boundaries, and the mental fatigue of staying consistent when your old habits scream for you to return to the status quo. This discomfort is not a sign that you are failing. It is the growing pains of a soul that is finally expanding to its true size. That pervasive discomfort is not a nuisance to be avoided or managed. It is a fundamental requirement that you must fully embrace if you are to undergo a true metamorphosis. It is far too easy to fall into the trap of thinking that discipline should feel smooth, rhythmic, and effortless, a simple routine that neatly slots into the existing cracks of your life. But the reality is that authentic discipline is forged exclusively in the moments when you feel the most intense internal resistance. It is built when every fiber of your being is screaming at you to take the easier path, to yield to the pressure, and to return to the safety of your old compliant ways. When you consciously choose that discomfort, you are effectively signaling to your brain that your growth is more important than your comfort. Every single time you say no to a demand that doesn't serve you, or every time you choose to prioritize your own mission over the fleeting approval of someone else, you will feel the sting. You will feel the sharp edge of disapproval and the heavy, awkward tension of setting boundaries that people aren't used to encountering from you. It is entirely natural to want to be liked and to avoid the friction of conflict, but you must accept that growth and comfort are mutually exclusive. Real transformation happens when you push through that psychological barrier, choosing your internal peace over the superficial validation of the crowd. The great psychiatrist Carl Jung famously stated, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." This single sentence captures the very heart of what it means to be disciplined. You are not a permanent victim of your past choices, you are not defined by your current comfort zones, and you are certainly not a puppet for the people who try to pull you in 1,000 different directions to satisfy their own agendas. You are defined solely by the person you choose to become in this moment and every moment hereafter. That choice often demands that you walk directly into the discomfort that most people spend their entire lives shying away from. This friction is actually the key to your transformation. It is the resistance training for your soul. In those moments where you want to buckle, you are actually building the resilience and the emotional calluses needed to truly lead your own life with authority. Discipline, therefore, is not about the absence of discomfort, but about the developed capacity to sit with it, to walk through the fire of it, and to keep moving forward even when every instinctual part of you wants to surrender. It is in these high-stakes moments that you test your true limits, pushing yourself not because it feels good, but because you know that on the far side of that discomfort lies the version of you that is truly respected and free. You have likely heard the cliché that change is inherently hard, but the reason it feels so heavy is that real, lasting transformation only occurs when you are forced to confront visceral discomfort head-on. It happens in the precise moment you choose to stand firm and unyielding, even as the walls of social resistance and internal doubt begin to build around you. The rare ability to embrace this discomfort, rather than fleeing from it, is the definitive hallmark of an individual who has finally seized total power over their own existence. This specific brand of power is not rooted in a desire to dominate others or a hunger for external accolades. Rather, it is the ultimate form of self-mastery, the ability to control your own impulses, your own executive decisions, and your own psychological response to the chaotic world around you. When you stop sprinting away from the things that make you feel uneasy and instead turn to face them with a steady gaze, you unlock a reservoir of personal strength that the vast majority of people will never even realize they possess. It is this tempered inner strength that provides the backbone for your boundaries, allowing you to stand tall in your decisions and make difficult choices that serve your high-level, long-term goals rather than your shallow, short-term comfort. It is incredibly easy to want to quit the moment the pressure intensifies, to throw in the towel and revert to those old, comfortable habits that don't challenge your character or demand anything of your soul. But you must remember that there is absolutely no growth to be found in the familiar. Growth only happens when you intentionally push past that initial, stinging layer of discomfort. It happens when you keep moving forward even when every logical part of your brain is telling you it would be so much easier to just stop. This is the exact point where discipline stops being a concept and becomes a tangible, undeniable force in your life. When you successfully build the mental calluses required to stand firm in the face of intense social resistance, when you can utter a no without a hint of hesitation and without seeking the hollow approval of the person standing across from you, that is when your life begins to transform in ways that are truly staggering. You will find that you no longer have to chase respect as if it were some elusive prize. When you choose discipline over ease and purpose over comfort, respect will follow you as naturally as a shadow. People will begin to perceive you as an unshakable force, someone who holds firm to their core values and refuses to let their boundaries be breached for the sake of convenience. They will recognize, perhaps for the first time, that you are someone who cannot be swayed by the fluctuating opinions or the loud, entitled demands of the world. And that, ultimately, is the threshold where authentic respect begins to gravitate toward you, not because you are desperately seeking it or performing for it, but because you have earned it through the undeniable, silent strength of your actions. You have demonstrated, through a series of difficult choices, that you are a person of profound integrity, a person who possesses the rare courage to walk directly through the fire of discomfort to architect a life that is actually worth living. It is important to realize that this journey does not demand absolute perfection. There will inevitably be moments where you slip, where the old programming takes over and you give in to the seductive urge to please others or take the path of least resistance. However, the true hallmark of a disciplined person isn't never falling. It is the ability to recognize those lapses immediately and choose a different, more empowered path the very next time. The more you deliberately practice embracing discomfort, the more effortless it becomes to stand firm in your decisions, until eventually, this posture of strength becomes a natural, integrated part of your identity. You stop the exhausting habit of apologizing for your choices, you cease the need to justify your boundaries to those who don't own your time, and you lose the primal fear of the temporary discomfort that comes from standing alone in your convictions. And that is precisely the moment when you finally begin to architect the life you truly deserve. A life constructed on the iron pillars of discipline, unshakable resilience, and the rare ability to face visceral discomfort head-on without flinching. So, the next time you feel that heavy resistance or that cold wave of discomfort creeping into your chest as you set a boundary, do not shy away from it or treat it as a warning to retreat. Instead, embrace it as a sign of progress. Walk directly through it with your head held high, understanding that it is not a predator to fear, but a necessary catalyst that will help you evolve into the person you were always meant to be. When you reach this level of self-mastery, you will find that the respect you've been exhausting yourself chasing will start to flow toward you with effortless gravity. It will be the undeniable result of the character and discipline you have forged in the heat of discomfort. This, my friend, is the true sovereign power you have been searching for all along. Yet, we must now confront the hardest part of this evolution. To live a truly disciplined life and to command the respect you deserve, you must be fundamentally willing to stand alone. I am not referring to a life of bitter isolation or being alone for the sake of hermit-like seclusion. Rather, I am talking about reaching a psychological state of maturity where you no longer fear solitude. There is a massive, untapped power in being able to stand firmly on your own 2 feet, making decisions that are authentically true to your values without constantly scanning the room for the approval of others. However, so many of us spend our lives desperately avoiding solitude, not simply because it is quiet, but because we have been conditioned to associate being alone with the pain of rejection. We fear the silence of our own company because we have tied our entire sense of worth to the external relationships, professional situations, and social circles that surround us. But you must wake up to this reality. When you stop clinging to others for a scrap of validation, and when you finally cease the frantic search for constant reassurance from a fickle world, you begin to emit a frequency of self-sufficiency. That is the exact moment you begin to attract real, high-level respect. Not the hollow liking of the masses, but the profound respect that others feel for a person who is comfortable in their own skin. The profound wisdom of Carl Jung resonates deeply here. Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that are important to you. This is the tragic reality for so many. We frantically surround ourselves with a crowd not because we truly value the individuals within it, but because we are terrified of the existential weight of standing alone. We fear the heavy silence of our own thoughts and the perceived sting of discomfort that arises when we aren't being constantly mirrored and validated by the people around us. Yet, you must realize that the only validation required to sustain a meaningful life is the one you provide for yourself. When you finally begin living in a way that is radically true to your own core, you naturally stop obsessing over whether others accept your choices. The moment you prove to yourself that you can stand alone without crumbling, you stop living as a slave to external approval. You immediately cease the exhausting work of reshaping your personality, your dreams, and your boundaries just to fit into the narrow narrative someone else has written for you. There is an incredible, life-altering sense of freedom that washes over you when you finally let go of the desperate need for constant social validation. You stop draining your mental energy by worrying if people like you or if they approve of the path you've taken. Instead, you redirect that power toward building a life that you can look at with genuine internal respect. This transformation isn't about becoming a hermit or avoiding meaningful connections. It is about reaching a level of self-mastery where you no longer need those connections to define your fundamental worth as a human being. When you have successfully built a life that stands on its own foundation, your relationships stop being a psychological need and finally become a conscious choice. You no longer look to others to make you feel whole because you have already cultivated that wholeness within your own solitude. This shift in your mindset is nothing short of revolutionary. The second you stop needing others to validate your existence, you effectively strip them of the power to manipulate your emotions or dictate your decisions. It's not that you become cold, indifferent, or robotic toward the world. It's that you stop letting the world's fluctuating opinions control the thermostat of your self-esteem. When the people around you perceive that you aren't desperate for their connection or hungry for their approval, their entire dynamic with you changes. They begin to offer you a deeper, more sincere respect. They instinctively sense that you are not someone who can be easily swayed by guilt trips or social pressure. They realize that you have found a rare, immovable peace in your own company, and in a world that is terrified of being alone, that self-sufficiency is the ultimate display of power. Once you stop the frantic pursuit of external approval, a remarkable shift occurs. People begin to value you with a depth and sincerity they never exhibited before. This happens because they finally perceive that you are no longer a hunter chasing their validation, but a self-contained entity with an unshakable core. By establishing boundaries that are firm and non-negotiable, you signal your own worth, and the world has no choice but to recognize that standard. This is the precise psychological coordinates where true self-respect is born. When you conquer the fear of being alone and cease clinging to others for a sense of reassurance, you effectively clear out the clutter of superficial connections, opening up the necessary space for the right people to enter your orbit. These are the individuals who will respect you for your authentic essence, rather than the curated, people-pleasing version of yourself you previously performed to meet their narrow expectations. These high-value relationships are the ones that truly nourish your spirit, supporting your personal evolution and adding substantial value to your life rather than acting as a parasitic drain on your energy. Even if your social circle becomes significantly smaller as a result of this winnowing process, the connections that remain will be exponentially stronger, anchored in a bedrock of mutual respect and genuine understanding. However, there is a significant catch that you must be prepared to handle. This entire transformation requires you to once and for all let go of the paralyzing fear of abandonment. You simply cannot live a sovereign, disciplined life if you are constantly looking over your shoulder, terrified that people will exit your life the moment you stop catering to their every whim or failing to meet their self-serving expectations. The very second you liberate yourself from the fear of people leaving, you unlock a whole new world of psychological possibilities. You begin to understand a fundamental law of human dynamics. The right people, those who are actually worthy of your time, won't leave when you set a boundary. In fact, they will stay precisely because they value the integrity of who you are as a human being, not because of the transactional favors you can do for them. By letting go of those who were only there for the service you provided, you make room for those who stay for the soul you possess. You must come to terms with the liberating truth that the individuals who choose to walk away, those who were only present in your life for their own personal gain or convenience, were never truly meant to stay in your orbit anyway. While the process of letting go of these shallow connections can be undeniably painful and can leave a temporary void, it is an absolute necessity for your personal evolution. When you develop the fortitude to stand alone, you are not standing in a place of weakness, but in a place of concentrated strength. You effectively stop outsourcing your self-worth to the opinions of others because you have finally cultivated the internal confidence required to trust your own instincts and executive decisions. You begin to live with a radical level of authenticity, guided by a compass of your own values and principles rather than the shifting winds of social expectation. In doing so, you invite a specific high-caliber type of respect into your life, the kind reserved for those who walk with unwavering integrity and live their truth without bending to the fickle whims of the crowd. By ceasing to live for the approval of others, you inadvertently create a powerful, magnetic force around your persona. This is a quiet, steady energy that naturally attracts the right people, the most aligned opportunities, and the profound respect you have always deserved. You will find yourself commanding that respect in a way that feels completely effortless, largely because you have stopped the exhausting act of chasing it. You have finally retired from the business of seeking external validation. Instead, you draw it toward you simply by being your most unadulterated self, by standing firm in your convictions, and by living a life that serves as a consistent reflection of your inner standards. People will inevitably take notice of this shift. They will see, through your posture and your silence, that you are no longer desperate for their fleeting attention, their temporary approval, or their superficial acceptance. And that realization is precisely what triggers their respect. Ultimately, learning to stand alone is not a sentence to be lonely forever. It is about achieving a state of solitude mastery. It is about the life-changing realization that you can not only survive but actually thrive without needing the constant, noisy validation of others to feel like a whole human being. You transition from being a passenger influenced by the world to becoming the sovereign leader of your own life. You are now the one who sets the pace, the one who determines the direction, and the one who decides who is worthy of coming along for the ride. This transformation isn't about fostering an ego or believing you are inherently better than those around you. It is about the radical act of learning to value yourself with such depth and conviction that no external force can ever take it away from you. When you move through the world with this internal fortress, you will witness something truly incredible. Individuals of high character and genuine respect will begin to gravitate toward your orbit, not because you are broadcasting a need for them, but because you have become a formidable force of nature in your own right. You will naturally attract the specific relationships, the unique opportunities, and the caliber of people that align with your frequency simply by standing firm in the reality of who you are and the principles you represent. You must now face the ultimate question. Are you truly ready to stand alone? Are you prepared to once and for all sever the cords of the fear of abandonment and embrace the profound, silent peace that comes with the realization that you are already enough, entirely on your own? The time has come to end the exhausting era of living for the hollow approval of the crowd. It is time to plant your feet in your own truth and allow the respect you deserve to flow toward you as naturally as the tide. The choice now rests entirely in your hands. Will you find the courage to stand alone? Will you commit to living a life that commands respect, not by frantically chasing it like a shadow, but by becoming so deeply rooted in your own moral and personal values that respect seeks you out effortlessly? This shift starts in this very moment. You must internalize the fact that you are not, and never have been, defined by the fickle approval of others. Rather, you are defined by the iron strength you discover within yourself the moment you stop seeking validation and start living your unfiltered truth. Always remember that the life you meticulously build through the pillars of discipline and self-respect will eventually act as a beacon, attracting the very respect you have been searching for all along. Stand firm in your boundaries, stand strong in your convictions, and let the world do the work of adjusting to your standards, rather than the other way around. If you are truly ready to dive even deeper into this journey of self-discovery and psychological growth, take the initiative to explore the next steps of your evolution immediately.